Welcome back to CFB Nation. I'm your host, Nino Brown, and we got an exclusive interview with 2025 four-star offensive tackle, Rowan Byrne. How we doing tonight, buddy?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. I can't complain. Closing out the week. Got a nice interview with a gentleman who went to a visit at school close to me, so I'm excited to talk to you about it and dive into, what Rowan Byrne is all about. So I'm going to hit you with a couple rapid-fire questions, and then we'll get into some football after that, right? What is the top track in the headphones right now?
Oh, that's a good question. I'll check. I've been listening to a lot of the Game lately.
Okay.
That's one of my favorite artists, Dr. Dre. I'm big into hip hop, so that's my favorite genre of music and R&B.
All right.
And then I listen to metal as well. So that's my top three.
Okay. Go both sides of the spectrum there.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. All-time favorite snack?
I was actually thinking about this. My favorite food yesterday because I had them. Crab cakes are my favorite food. I don't know if they're a snack, favorite food, whatever. That's my favorite food. So
I can rock with that. All-time favorite video game?
Oh, I'm Red Dead Redemption 2.
All right. I know that one
Yeah.
for sure. And then favorite athlete, non-football?
Joel Embiid.
Okay. And then breakfast cereal 101, the last bowl of cereal you can ever have. What are you rocking with?
Cinnamon Toast Crunch. That's an easy one.
Yeah.
Don't even have to think about it.
Yeah, for me, it's either Cinnamon Toast or Fruity Pebbles. It's hard for me, right? It's 50-50.
Yeah.
All right. I just want to say thank you for doing the interview. I know you're a busy guy, and we appreciate you doing the interview with CFB Nation.
Yeah, of course.
Growing up in New York, I got to know, Giants or Jets fan?
Giants fan.
Okay. How do you feel about this whole Saquon Barkley deal? What's going on?
It's not good. It's pretty, as a fan, it's pretty concerning.
Yeah,
I don't really know what we're going to see going forward, but I don't even know if he's going to play this year.
Everything you see right now isn't looking too promising.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like we don't even know what's going on.
If
he doesn't play, the season's kind of
It's a lot on Daniel Jones, man. It's a lot on
exactly.
So, what's football life like in New York?
I mean, it's probably the same as anywhere else. I'd say, training the off season. I would say the only major difference is, at least, at Iona where I go, we are a top program in the country. So it's the same as anywhere else. We just don't get the same respect that we would if we were in Florida, or North Carolina or Georgia. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got you. You hear Texas or something like that, instantaneously, like, all right, prestigious school, big Texas is all about football. You hear Florida, it's all about football. I get what you're saying. I understand.
I think it's tough. I think in recent years, last year and a half, 2 years, I think we've gotten a lot more respect, But even if we go out and beat teams, like other Don Bosco, we beat them. Yeah, it looks great. But even then, you still kind of get some doubters, But
oh yeah,
I think also the competition here, in my opinion. So if you go look at like the normal competition in really any other state, I mean, if you look at a Texas like 4A or 5A game, I mean, that's still good football. That's the same competition we're playing, but they're just in Texas. So, and even I would say our league is probably better than that anyways. Like most of the teams in our league would probably compete in a 5 or 6A, Texas division. I mean, we compete at the top, my program, but my school, but the other teams would still be good Texas teams, but just because we're here, you don't look at it that way.
I gotcha. Yeah. So they just no recognition. They're just it's scouting by the helmet, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's the worst, but it's getting a little better, slowly year by year.
The newcomers start coming in. The new scouts start coming in. These young guys, and they start expanding. You get these old guys that are stuck in their ways, and they don't want to go off the beaten path.
I've met a lot of coaches from New York, actually.
Really?
A lot of like Central New York. I know a bunch of guys from Long Island and a bunch of guys from, Central New York, Syracuse area, Buffalo region, which is really interesting because you meet way more coaches from that area than you'd think.
That's a surprising fact.
No, it is basically, I didn't even realize that. And then you kind of start meeting them like, oh, yeah, I'm from 45 minutes north of Syracuse. Oh, wow. I'm like 15 or 20 coaches from New York, and I'm talking about like major Power 5 programs,
Really?
there's a decent number of them.
That's crazy.
So it's kind of something you find.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I'm a nice piece of knowledge. Appreciate that. Um, how long have you been playing football, and when did you develop a love for the game?
Okay, yeah, so I've been playing since I was probably like 6 or 7. That was just flag football here. We don't have tackle football till 5th grade.
Okay.
It's kind of how it is in New York. So I've been playing for a while though, and I always played sports when I was younger, but I didn't really love sports until kind of like the end of my 6th grade year. For whatever reason, that's when I really fell in love. Maybe a little bit before that with basketball, but I didn't really fall in love with football until the end of 6th grade. But ever since the last 3 years, I mean, that's been my life, and I've loved it.
So, now, are you a single sport athlete? You said you mentioned basketball. Or you played two sports?
Yeah, so I played basketball for a while, but I stopped playing once I got into high school just because I thought doing two team sports like that in a row is it's kind of tough. So I started throwing. So I do track and field now.
All right, there you go.
So
I've met a lot of football guys, especially offensive, defensive linemen that have gone into like either discus or shot put or something on the track and field side.
that was an
How,
awesome sport.
how does that work with you, like keeping you in condition wise when you're going in, into the football season?
I mean, practice isn't that long. It's not too time consuming. I think for me, it's just another challenge. It's something I've really come to love. I really like that sport. I'm not saying I do it in college. I
Right.
definitely love football more, but it's definitely, it's something I enjoy to do outside of football in the off season. It keeps me active. A bunch of my really close friends do it. So it's been a great sport. And practice is an hour and a half every day, so it gives me time to go lift. I can lift every single day after practice. If I was playing basketball, you got practice, you got
Yeah.
games all week,
Yeah.
and you can't lift till 6:30, 7 o'clock at night, and then it's just your whole schedule is way too difficult to work with. But for a guy like me who needs more time to train, technique work and in the weight room, it's easier if I do a sport that is an hour and a half every day instead of 3.
Right. And I'm assuming, whether it be, shot put, disc, whatever it may be, it's got to build the core. Like I know people think this thing is this little light ball. I've seen it.
It's really not. I mean, it's a 12-pound ball, but it's not that big. It's the one thing I'll say is I think a lot of people talk about explosiveness. I mean, I think so. Yeah, you definitely develop some of that, but I mean, I don't really think so just because it's just not. You need explosiveness to be good at it, but it itself doesn't really develop it as much as you think. Body control, though, you develop a lot of body control doing it.
Yeah,
That's the biggest thing I noticed. The
it's
body
probably
control you get from throwing, shot put, discus, hammer, weight, all of that stuff, you really can't get it anywhere else.
yeah. I can imagine. I imagine the core buildup and all that just to be able to control it all at once. You say that it's not really that big of a ball, but you're 6'6", what 6'6", 240?
I'm 300 pounds now.
Oh, geez. Yeah. And I'm 5'6", 165. So for me, that thing would be hard for me to throw. For you, it's woo,
Yeah, for me,
easy.
it's not that bad, but it's still pretty solid.
Right.
Especially like at the higher levels in college, it's like 16 pounds, but that's a pretty serious.
So,
It's not a big ball. It's pretty serious.
2 years in a row you've done it, or this is your first
Yeah,
year?
I started doing it as a freshman, and then I'm just a throwing coach. So I was obviously a big kid. He was like, you know, you want to try
Come
the
on
sport?
over.
I was like, sure.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. So I've been doing it the last 2 years. I'm going to finish it out for high school too. I've become good at it as well. So I really like it.
All right. Let's talk a little bit of Iona. You guys finished 9-3 overall, 6-1 in
Yeah.
the Catholic 3A district. You remain part of the reason the offense averaged 253 yards in the rushing per game, 8.3 yards per attempt. I mean, what was the highlight moment for you this season? Uh, Looking back.
Yeah, no, that's an easy one. My favorite kind of moment of the year was when we played Don Bosco. We don't get a lot of Friday, in the Northeast. You know how it is because you're from here. We
Yeah,
play on Saturdays for some reason. I mean, even Bergen Catholics, like the
I
number
know.
14 team in the country, they play on Saturdays. I don't know why we do it, but we do. We played Bosco on a Friday night at Bosco. That was awesome. That was a really great atmosphere. We beat them too as a big underdog. That was a really fun game. We also there, I think really every coach knows around the country, and I think everyone, especially around here, knows they're a big physical team. And I think we ran for like 375, 400
Yeah.
yards on them. I mean, so we really put it on them. So that was an awesome game.
Yeah, yeah, you ran a score up a little bit on that in that game.
Yeah, we got like 42. Well, I mean, I think we averaged like 41 points a game this year. So
Yeah,
we had a good offense.
right. I mean, but you're coming in with a team with a big name and a prestigious school, and you kept going with what you were putting up there, and you guys just kept running the rock. And from what I've seen in that game and the tape I watched this year, I mean, you consistently moved forward. Okay, you
Yeah.
dominate on the line, especially in the run game. You're good. You're very good with pulling off blocks and pushing when it comes to running. What are you gonna do in this off season? To work on the better your craft.
Yeah, I mean, from like a more simple technical standpoint, I would say everything is pretty well. I would say in my class, just from where we are right now, I'm more technically developed than most guys. I spent a lot of time working on it. Um, but there are definitely some smaller things I need to work on. Like one big thing, and it's not a lot of this stuff is if you just really sound technically in high school, you'll still do great. You know,
Right.
really, you're not working necessarily. You're working for college.
Hmm.
It's like if you're a big kid and you have a really good, solid technique, you'll dominate in high school. But you need that extra level once you're in college. Like a big thing with me in the run game is when you initially start off in the run game is you keep that low like your chest to thigh kind of demeanor
Hmm.
and you're just driving someone. But like one thing I need to work on is instead of just staying in that position, my initial 2 steps, 3 steps are in that, and then I'm bringing my hips forward so that the defender can't pull me as much. So that
Okay.
my center of gravity is up more. I can't get pulled. I can move more. I'm multi-directionally as well after that initial 3, 4 steps, 2, 3 yards of contact.
Yeah, yeah. I noticed. For like you said, 300-pound gentleman, you move well off the line instantly. You have an explosive first step when it comes right off the snap. So, how do you work on what do you do for that agility to be for to be 6'6", 300 pounds to be that agile and quick off the line?
Yeah, so actually, for me, because I was always a tall kid, but I grew up as a skinny kid. Up
Okay.
until like 2 years ago, I'm like in eighth grade. Like midway through eighth grade, I was like 194 pounds. I mean, it's been
Oh wow.
26 months. I gained 100 pounds, and I carry my weight really well. But I grew up as a basketball player, so I think and I played tight end too. I played wide receiver when I was younger because I was just like a tall, kind of wiry kid, and I still have that athleticism. So I do think it came from that, and I think it's just something I've kept. Learning how to move as I've gotten bigger.
Right.
So I think when you grow into your body, you kind of keep that athleticism and you move great. But when
Right.
you have kids who are really big when they're younger and they kind of just stay that way, they never really moved super well, so they don't keep it. They would have to develop it. But for me, just because I grew into my body more, I kind of kept my athleticism, and was able to work from there.
All right. Great answer. I love it. Now let's you know Don Bosco was a highlight, and then you guys we're about to close the year out on 7 straight wins. You got 6. You end this season, with the 50-18 loss to St. Anthony's. Can you tell us a little bit about that game?
Yeah, with that game, I mean that was just a tough one. I mean, we last year we beat them twice in some pretty close games. So they really, I mean, we had a target on our back from them for sure. I mean, that's a total revenge game. We played them earlier in the season, and that was probably my second favorite game of the year, even though we lost because it was like 45, 48, like 1,300 total yards of offense. I mean, that
Woo.
that was an awesome game. But yeah, in that final game of the season, you know, I thought the offensive line did pretty well. If you asked me, like watching the film, there wasn't a lot of penetration. We did a good job. In the end, I mean, there was just too many injuries. I think. We came into that game. 2 of our starting receivers were injured. They're both playing Division One sports now. One's at Lafayette, and then the other one's playing Division One baseball.
Okay.
But they were both amazing athletes, and I think they came into the game injured. Our running back got injured. If you know who Zion Moultrie Goddard is, he got injured. He's at Syracuse now. He was a great linebacker. Our quarterback was even a little banged up, at Rutgers now. So I just think all the injuries on the team, I think, made it really difficult. You know,
I gotcha.
so in the end, you know, it was just a tough game.
Inexperienced. Yeah, inexperienced, but at least they got the experience in that game for the next season, right?
Yeah, I think we'll come back. I think this team, I loved last year's team. There's a lot of talent on it, but this year's team is definitely working harder. You know,
Okay.
not that last year's team didn't work hard because they did, but there's just kind of a different chip on our shoulder this year. We came off a state championship in 2021. So 2022 off season, you're coming off the state championship, and it's a little different.
Right.
But we didn't win the state championship this year. So coming out of the season, you're going to have kind of a different kind of way you're working as a team. You
A
know,
little bit, a little more hunger in the belly.
yeah, exactly. So we know what we have to do, and I mean, we're working our asses off. So I think it'll be great. Even St. Joe's Regional.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's a great team, a lot of talent. We had a 7-on-7 versus them on Wednesday night, and I mean we did fantastic against them. You know, I mean our
Nice.
skill players. I mean they did awesome. A bunch of the young skill players from last year, like my class, is filled with a bunch of great receivers, who obviously they were young last year, but I mean everyone looked awesome against St. Joe's the other day. I mean there's everyone is really good, and I think the team this year just has so much more depth. Because all the
Yeah.
younger guys, they have experience. They're coming in more, and they're ready to take bigger roles.
Right.
So I think that with the amount of depth and talent there is this year, injuries won't be able to stop us as much. You know.
A little more experience, a little more eagerness, a little bit more like responsibility leads to a
Yeah.
better product.
Yeah.
Um,
Exactly.
but what I got a question for you because yeah, everybody wants a flashy positions. You said you played tight end, wide receiver. What is it about the offensive line, the tackle position, that intrigues you, interests you, and just it just sucked you in?
Okay, I will say I'm with offensive line. Obviously, I grew up and I wanted to play tight end and I wanted to play defensive line in high school, but the way it just worked out is I was kind of growing into a bigger frame. I was going to be either a three technique in college, or I could have been like an offensive tackle. I started getting recruited as a tackle. And I was like, all right, I'll do it. I want to play D line, but I was getting used to it. And I've really fallen in love with the position because I think offensive line is great. I think the biggest misconception with it is, oh, you're just bashing heads with the guy in front of you, like not much rhyme or reason, which is you couldn't be further from the truth,
Yeah.
but like if you most fans think that, you know, they really do think that which like I mean, why would they know? Most people don't play offensive line.
Right.
Uh, and if a lot of people did, they might have been at a smaller school. It just wasn't as, the way it really is meant to be played. And it's a really cerebral position.
Yes.
It's a lot more complex than people think technique wise. You know, that's another thing. Definitely cerebrally, I think people are starting to understand that. There's a lot of communication. There's a lot of understanding the scheme that goes into it. But
Hmm.
technically, there's a lot that goes into it. There's as much that goes into the technique of offensive line as any other position. Based on your pass sets, your different run techniques. Your different, just all of that. That really, and that's difficult. But I think that's my favorite part of it is kind of learning all the different techniques, learning when to use them. How to use them the right way.
Right.
That's been one of my favorite parts. Once I figured out how complex of a position it was, it gives you so much to work on and so much to do. So you just kind of keep getting better, and I mean it's awesome. And then when you're in the games and you're driving a guy 10 yards back and put him on his back, I mean that's awesome.
Yeah.
There's
I
not a
saw a
single,
lot of that.
yeah, there's not a single person that doesn't love that. I mean,
Yeah.
so once you start playing offensive line, really get into the nitty gritty of it, the nuances, and then just playing on games. I mean it's fun. And also another big part of it, aside from just football, is is like the camaraderie you have with the other guys. It's not like any other position.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's totally different. The bond, the brotherhood you have with your five guys, you can't find it anywhere else.
It's like going to war. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you aren't going to find it on the defensive line. You're not going to find it any other position on the field. It's extremely unique.
It's a lot easier to attack than it is to protect, and you have a gentleman behind you that you have to protect at all costs, right? Your
Yeah.
quarterback has to be protected. And I could tell just by the way you talk and handle yourself, you're a very smart, high IQ gentleman. Just the way you talk about being cerebral on the line. Are you that gentleman on the line that's more the vocal guy, kind of like the green dot gentleman on the line that's controlling everything, letting people know that this guy's coming? I see this guy moving.
Yeah, this year I've developed into more of that. Last year, I mean, I don't play center, so I'm not
Right.
making the calls as much. But last year, my teammate Jorge, he's playing football at Georgetown now. He's the best lineman I've played with. I mean, he's the best lineman I've seen. I mean, he's fantastic. But that was kind of his thing. He was the leader. I mean, he was 2 years older than me. He really taught me a lot. He's a big, big, big reason as to why I'm the player I am now. So, but definitely in this season, yeah, that's definitely more of my role now. That's 100%
Right.
my role. So, because I
Love it.
had to, following his steps.
Yeah, got some big shoes to fill. Seems like you can do it.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk a little bit about this recruitment process for a little bit. You got offers from Michigan, Notre Dame, Rutgers, BC, Yukon, Wisconsin, Texas A&M, and there was plenty of more. But how's the process been so far?
It's been great. I mean, It's what you dream of. It's what you work for. It's what you want. So I mean, it's been awesome.
All right.
I have the opportunity to go to the schools I wanted to go to. Like when I was younger, where did I want to go? I want to go to Michigan, Notre
Right.
Dame. I grew up as a fan of those teams. I grew up as a Notre Dame fan just because there's a big Notre Dame fan base in the Northeast, so
Yeah.
you do get a lot of that. And then I grew up a Wisconsin fan because I'm a big JJ Watt fan. He's probably my favorite football player of all time. That's why I played defensive line when I was younger too. So
Okay.
growing up a fan of him, and then obviously the other Watt brothers went to Wisconsin, so
Yeah.
I grew up a fan of those two teams. So having the opportunity to go to those two schools that actually is a dream come true.
Right.
I don't know if I'm going to go there, but I am seriously considering those schools. But I mean, those are two schools I want to go to. The same thing with Michigan. So I have all those great opportunities.
All right. You mentioned Notre Dame. Let's get right to it. You visited Notre Dame on the 19th, and I'm hearing you're visiting again very soon. Is Notre Dame high on the list? And does Coach Joe Rudolph play a large role in the process for you? And what's your relationship like with him?
I have a fantastic relationship with him, and yeah, Notre Dame's really high on the list. You know, right now, I visited Michigan, Notre Dame, and Wisconsin about a month ago now. I was at all those schools for 2 days back in June. I kind of drove from each school. It's an easy trip because when you're in the Midwest, it's easy to drive that. But exactly. But yeah, no, at Notre Dame, yeah, I'm really close with Coach Joe Rudolph. I think I probably have the closest relationship with him out of any coach I know. Definitely up there. Being on campus, I love being on campus. I love the staff. I love the offensive line history. You know,
Right.
that's another thing is a lot of schools if they have an offensive line history like Notre Dame does, where they're O line U, or
Right.
they're at least one of the two or three schools that are. There's an expectation that the offensive line is good, and when you have that expectation, it does tend to happen. But when you go to schools where yeah they have a good offensive line a couple years in a row, but then it kind of fades away, But
Yeah.
that doesn't happen at Notre Dame. They always have a good O line. They always have a good culture with their O line. They're always getting the right guys on their offensive line. So that is something that does matter to me because you kind of see it when you're at those schools that do have such great offensive line culture and tradition. There's a difference.
Yeah.
There definitely is.
I, they already got. I already been telling everybody that on CFB Nation towards titles that Joe Walt's a first round draft pick, probably going to be top 10 pick coming out of Notre
Joel
Dame.
could Joel could be the first offensive tackle taken first overall in like 10 years.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Um, Blake Fisher is also going to be a first round pick.
Yep.
I don't know if it's this year because I don't know if he's coming out this year, but
Right.
he's coming out next year. He's gonna be a first round pick. Some of their interior guys are as well. It's just the nature of the way that the offensive line works over there. You
Absolutely.
know,
They just turn them out,
and there's a standard there too that is upheld with each new group of players. Like Joe Alt's upholding that standard now, but
Mhm.
going back, it was Quentin Nelson.
Yes.
Mike McGlinchey. So it just kind of keeps going and going,
They just
and
pass
they
the
keep that.
torch to the next
Yeah,
one.
exactly.
Yeah.
So when that's exactly what is with that offensive line tradition, is that the standard just keeps getting passed along, so that standard stays. It's always there.
Right. I agree with you 100%. I'm gonna touch quickly on BC because I'm a BC guy. I know you went there, you visited a little bit. Christian Mahogany's projected as a first round draft pick from the O line. Is there any chance BC's on the list? Can you come in there and keep it rocking? What's the story?
Yeah, BC is definitely up there, especially because of the academics of
Yes.
Boston College. You know, that's a big thing for me. Obviously, Michigan, Wisconsin, Notre Dame, all
Right.
really great schools. Boston College is also an amazing school. So, and then the offensive line tradition at Boston College is also elite. Again, they're definitely up there with those top 5 or 6 offensive line producing schools. And Coach Applebaum he's great. He's a really good offensive line coach. When he was there for 2 years, a couple years ago, he did a great job. He had a couple guys get drafted,
Right.
and then when he was on the Dolphins, their O line was good last year too. I feel like Tua got hit a couple times and he had some concussions, and everyone acted like their offensive line was terrible. They really were actually pretty good. He just got he took a couple of bad hits is all. But I
Right.
mean that's football. It happens. You could
Exactly.
get sacked 5 times. The least amount of times in the league, and all 5 of those hits could be the worst hits of the season. And
Yes.
everyone's going to say the offensive line sucks, but really, you got sacked 5 times on what 500 pass attempts. That's obviously hypothetical, but if that happened, everyone say the O line sucks, but really, they did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
You know, which is just the thing people don't get about the position. Like I was Because when everyone was saying how bad the Dolphins O line was, I said, okay, I'm actually going to look at this. I don't watch a lot of Dolphins games because I'm not a Dolphins fan,
Right.
but they gave up 17 sacks last year. Tua got sacked 17 times. In like 14 games. It's like 1.5 sacks a game. That's really not bad.
Right.
It's not bad at all.
No.
That's I think like top 10 in the league. So they had a good unit, but
It's just what they see. They don't. Not
this
everybody dives
media,
in past the highlights.
yeah, exactly. That's a highlight, and the media just feeds it to everybody, and it's the O line sucks. But no,
If it bleeds, it leads. That's how it is
yeah,
with the
exactly.
media nowadays. You know what I mean?
But Applebaum's a fantastic coach. I know Christian Mahogany gonna be a first round pick. I know some of the other guys in that offensive line are really good too.
Yeah.
There's probably another one or two first round pick future guys on that line. Probably everyone from that line will play in the NFL at some point. So, you've got a really good offensive line at Boston College too.
Excited. I'm excited this year.
Well, I like
um,
to see the Northeast team succeed, because like if you live in, Illinois or Indiana or, Kansas or Texas, you could root for 20 teams, and, at least a
yeah.
couple of them are going to be good. But I live here. There's only 3 Power 5 teams around here, like that are actually Syracuse and Rutgers.
Yep.
And just being from here, it's better when they're good.
Like I'm for CFB Nation. I cover the Northeast, so that I can
Yeah.
get to because it's local, so it's easier for me. Uh, I know we mentioned Texas announced on your Twitter recently you're going to be in Ohio State. I think is it
Yeah.
next? Okay, so let's talk to us about it.
Yeah, no. So I'm a while now. Well, a couple months, but going back just because I had, and they said that kind of they just wanted to see me because it was June, so they couldn't see me at school. So obviously, I can't get out this June because I already had that trip to Wisconsin, Notre Dame, Michigan planned out. For me, but I did say Ohio State. It's Ohio State. I've become really close with those coaches. I really like. But anyways, I didn't know they had an event in July, and so upon hearing it, yeah, I'm gonna get out there.
Cool.
That's my opportunity to do it, so I'm gonna do it. Obviously, talking with the coaches a lot recently. I'm getting so I'm excited to get out there.
Awesome. What station?
Yeah, so in the future, just like so, my college station this weekend, and then I also want to see another school, but you can't. It's hard to see another school without taking another flight. In the end, it's not as practical.
I
For me to
agree.
take 2 flights. I have camp this coming week. We have practice for 4 days.
I gotcha.
So like coming out of that on Friday morning, I can get an hour and flight. It's like an hour and 5 minutes in the air from New York. I get an hour flight to Columbus. I'm at Ohio State for the whole weekend. I'm there for the whole day. I drive to Notre Dame. I'm there for the whole day. Drive back to Detroit. The longest drive in total is 3 hours, and that's not that long.
Not at all.
Really easy trip, and I only have to take one total flight. One rent a car.
Yeah.
Not bad at all.
No brainer.
Versus if I go to Texas, and I will at some point, but the next closest school is and University of Texas.
Right.
I'm not really. So, where am I going to go?
Right.
School's easily in 3 days. But for I'm close. Offered me. I wanted to get out, but my plan is this year, and then take an official visit there at some point too.
Got
it. Especially with those schools that are farther out, like Stanford.
Right.
I'm super interested in Stanford. For me, and for when I have to fly, I like to hit multiple schools at once. But in San Francisco, like USC is like 6 hours away. you're not really that close, even though you're not that far. But time to plan a trip where I could, have a 6.5 hour road trip because I just haven't had the time to do that.
Right.
But like, but
Mhm.
just in terms of taking an official there, that's the beauty of official visits is, to Stanford. But if you take an official, that's easy. That you need to see. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Smart. It's all about practicality, right? You gotta remember,
like,
he's still a high school kid, right? He's on trees.
yeah. So, so just it's easy.
I feel I think you're being smart about it as well. You mentioned J.J. Watt, right? But who's one either collegiate or right now that you would maybe help to tweak your game a little bit?
One thing though with sometimes with NFL offense, certain things they do that aren't necessarily super advisable to younger guys, I would say. Like it's just a whole different thing there.
Right.
But when it comes to studying, great. Zach Martin's great. Really in the NFL are very good study.
Yeah.
But I can't think of his name right now. Joe Thomas is really great to study as well. Consistent offensive lineman of all
Yep.
time. He never missed a game in 10 years. That is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
You're just not. Currently, yeah, I'd say Joe Walt's another really great player. Is really great because technically he's super sound.
Oh
And
yeah.
he does a great job. So
Work is crazy.
yeah, he has great hand placement, all that.
Yeah.
So got to look at Quentin Nelson.
Dog.
Too, great to look at. Trent Williams as well.
He's a beast. That's a
And he's fantastic.
yeah.
I thought Jason.
He's got to be. You got to be good to be doing it as long as he's been doing it.
Exactly, and he's better in the last couple of seasons,
Which is crazy, right?
Because he's like, and it's pretty hard to play offensive line at 36 in the NFL.
Him and Travis in the backyard. You know what I mean?
I could only imagine stories about them. I think on their podcast one time because I'm actually Travis played tight end, so I'm pretty sure there was a story like they broke. Like they were just fighting and they destroyed they just broke the. Like
I can only they're wild. Both of them guys, especially when at Cincinnati. One Travis was just the party man, right? And then
he didn't really figure it out until
get rid of him. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, he figured it out. He's freaking. I mean, he's awesome. And they're both really great personalities, both him and the podcast now. I've always been a big fan of the both of them, but
in the Super Bowl party with the whole
yeah, I mean that was awesome.
Rochelle.
He's coming to the he had like that green shirt on and the sandals and I mean, but that's just how offensive linemen are.
He's just chilling.
I come to school, or I'll come to practice and slide 2 days in that. Everyone's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "When I wear this, I'm gonna have cleats.
My feet need to breathe.
My feet need to breathe right now." You'll just I'm just walking around barefoot sometimes, and I'm like, "Look, man, I had cleats on for 3 hours before. Just let me be." You just got to do it. Sometimes
I was gonna say something to a 6'6", 300-pound guy. I just be like, "Okay, sir."
I mean,
I got you. I know it's all good fun,
room, but sometimes it's just gonna happen.
Savage.
In 2 days.
Those feet are getting destroyed for hours.
During 2 days, you got to relax a little bit.
You let the puppies breathe. Puppies need some. we talked about how you said of your recruitment process and your decision. I know you just finished up your sophomore year, but what would you be major or what route you like and what kind of subjects you liking in school right now?
Academics, especially actually with having the opportunity to go to all these great 0.7, like a 90 average, which I can't get into Notre Dame with that. I can't get into Michigan with that. You can't get into Wisconsin. Those are really great schools, but they also have great football. So football to like elevate myself, I can with football I can, and that will give me an elite degree, a great education. Something I want to do to boost my opportunities. But yeah, going forward,
Awesome,
yeah,
awesome. That's good stuff. For animals, is
yeah.
that where it
No,
comes from?
I've grown up with them. Love animals.
All right. You
I'm
grew
a
up with
cat
animals. Let's talk. Multiple animals. You guys got a farm going on. What's the deal?
from down here, so I don't have a farm. But no, I've just grown up with. No, I've just learned to love animals. So, but dogs too. I don't choose.
All right, all right. I'm gonna close it out with this last one thing that people don't know about Rowan Byrne.
Yeah, okay. It actually probably is the cats because everyone just assumes I have like some massive dog or something. Like a great. Like last year, during 2 days actually, like after like our coach had us all come up and like say like like was something like people wouldn't know about you. I was like, I have two cats. Oh,
You look
it
like
actually
you're a big dog guy, right? Like
crazy dog or something, like a
right.
giant pit bull, but I don't.
Cat you got.
I have two.
Oh, that's not that bad. You know,
I mean,
you would, right?
honestly,
You would.
I can't, when you have that many cats, I feel like it's kind of hard to like care for each of them individually.
Okay. All right.
Like when you really think about it, if you live with six cats, I don't know, I just feel like you couldn't kind of give them the life that they might deserve, with that many. You just can't give them as much attention. I mean, imagine living with six dogs,
Yeah,
I
I have
mean,
a pit bull, and I feel like I got 3 kids, and I feel like I can't give them the dog enough attention with the kids. You know what I mean?
yeah, exactly. And I mean, cats don't need as much attention, but you get six of them. It gets a little crazy,
Yeah.
So,
I agree. All right, my man. I appreciate you, like I said, doing this interview with us. It's been a great one. I learned a lot about you, a lot about the offensive line process and what it takes to be on the line. I would love to be in contact with you and circle back in like 6 months to a year and bring you back on and see how everything's gone.
yeah, of course.
All right, you have yourself a great night and weekend. And like I said, I appreciate you coming on and doing this with us.
Yeah, anytime. Thank you.
Have
All right.
have a good
Have a
one.
good night.